The 6 lies I told myself before I became profitable. Let me say something that might make you uncomfortable. The reason you're not profitable yet is not because you haven't found the right strategy. It's not because you need a better indicator. It's not because the market is rigged against you. It's not because you're unlucky or underfunded or started too late. The reason you're not profitable is because of what you believe about yourself when no one is watching. I know that's not what you came here to hear. You probably clicked on this video hoping I was going to tell you there's a smarter entry technique, a better way to read the chart, some insight about psychology that takes 5 minutes to understand and 10 seconds to apply. But here's the truth, and I want you to sit with this before I go any further. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not a knowledge gap, it's an identity gap. And the only thing standing between the trader you are today and the trader who finally, consistently makes money is a set of beliefs you've been mistaking for facts. I called them lies because that's what they are. Not stupid lies, not lazy lies. These are the lies that intelligent, hard-working, genuinely motivated people tell themselves, the kind that feel like wisdom, the kind that sound reasonable, the kind that kept me stuck for far longer than I'm comfortable admitting. So today I'm going to walk you through all 6 of them. And I want you to listen, not as a student absorbing information, but as someone brave enough to ask, which of these do I still believe? Reality shift. Here's what nobody tells you about trading psychology content. Most of it is designed to make you feel good about your problems without actually solving them. You watch a video about discipline. You feel inspired. You tell yourself tomorrow will be different. And then the market opens and you're back to the same patterns, the same impulses, the same trades you swore you wouldn't take. Sound familiar? The reason that cycle keeps repeating isn't because you're weak. It's because understanding a concept is not the same as becoming a different person. And trading, real, profitable, consistent trading, requires you to become a different person. Not a smarter one, not a more informed one, a fundamentally different one. The traders I know who turned the corner, who went from months of losses to genuine consistency, they all say a version of the same thing. At some point, I stopped trying to learn more and started trying to become something different. That's the shift, and everything in this video lives on the other side of it. Let's get into it. Lie number 1. I just need one more strategy. Let me be honest with you. When I was losing consistently, I consumed more trading content than most people will in a lifetime. I had 5 strategies, then 8. At one point, I had a folder on my desktop with 23 different PDF breakdowns of setups I'd collected from forums, courses, YouTube videos, and trading books. 23. And I couldn't make a single one of them work. Here's what I told myself. I just haven't found the right one yet. It felt logical, it felt disciplined even, like I was taking the process seriously. I was investing in my education. I was doing the work. But what I was actually doing was avoiding the real work, because strategy hunting is safe. Learning feels like progress. Watching another video, reading another book, joining another community, none of that requires you to sit with the uncomfortable truth that the strategy isn't the problem. You are the problem. Not in a harsh way, in the most compassionate way I know how to say it. The strategy doesn't fail in a vacuum. It fails because of the human running it. A profitable trader running a mediocre strategy will find a way to extract money from it. An unprofitable trader running a perfect strategy will destroy it. Think about that for a second. Same strategy, different human, different result. The variable isn't the system, it's the operator. Here's the psychology behind it. Strategy switching is a cognitive defense mechanism. Every time you switch strategies, you reset the emotional ledger. Any losses you took on the last strategy don't count anymore. You were still learning it. Any mistakes you made were the strategy's fault. You get a clean slate, a fresh start, until that strategy starts losing too, and the cycle begins again. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That quote gets misattributed to Einstein constantly, but here's the version nobody frames. Strategy switching is doing the same thing over and over while telling yourself it's something new. I'm not saying strategy doesn't matter, it does, but most retail traders already have a strategy good enough to be profitable. What they don't have is the psychological consistency to execute it. The shift that changed everything for me wasn't finding strategy number 24. It was putting down the search entirely and asking, why do I keep abandoning the strategies I have? That question is where the real work begins. If this is landing for you, if you recognize yourself in that folder of 23 PDFs, drop a comment below. Just write, "Still searching." No judgment, just honesty. Let's see how many of us are in the same room. Lie number 2, I'll be more disciplined when I'm more confident. This one is sneaky because it doesn't sound like an excuse. It sounds like self-awareness. I know I'm not ready yet. I need to build more confidence first, then I'll be able to follow my rules properly. It's sophisticated procrastination dressed in the language of patience. Here's what's actually happening. You've built a causal story in your head. Confidence comes first, discipline follows. Once you have enough wins, enough certainty, enough proof that you can do this, then the discipline will feel natural. The story is backwards. Discipline doesn't follow confidence. Confidence follows discipline. Let me give you an example. Think about the most confident professional you've ever encountered. A surgeon, a pilot, a seasoned lawyer in the middle of a difficult case. Where does their confidence come from? Not from hoping things will go well. It comes from the discipline of having prepared relentlessly, followed procedure consistently, and built up a body of evidence through deliberate action that they can be trusted to perform. They are confident because they are disciplined, not the other way around. In trading, every time you bypass your rules, even once, even with justification, you're sending a signal to your own nervous system. My rules are suggestions, not commitments. And your nervous system, your psychology, your decision-making under pressure, it all operates on the signals you send it through repeated behavior. Every rule you follow reinforces, I am someone who follows rules. Every rule you break reinforces, I am someone who breaks rules under pressure. Your identity is being built trade by trade, not by how you think about yourself in the abstract, by what you actually do. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. And here's the thought I want to leave in your subconscious from this section. Confidence is not given to the prepared. It is built by the disciplined. There's a trader I know. I'll call him Marcus because that's not his name, but this is a real story. Marcus spent 18 months in a paper trading account convinced he was building confidence. He was waiting to feel ready before trading real money. The problem, in a paper account, nothing is real. The emotions aren't real, the stakes aren't real. The discipline isn't being tested. When he finally moved to a live account, he was 18 months older and not one psychological step closer to profitability because he'd been rehearsing in a world where nothing mattered. He had to go back to basics, not strategy basics, identity basics. He had to start small, follow his rules, and let the behavior build the belief. 6 months after that shift, he had his first consistently profitable quarter. Not because he found a better strategy, because he stopped waiting to feel ready and started acting like the trader he wanted to become. Lie number 3. The losses are bad luck. The wins prove I can do this. This is the one that kept me in the game long after I should have paused and reassessed. Here's how the thinking works. A trade goes well and you take credit. Your analysis was sharp, your timing was good, you read the market correctly. A trade goes badly and you find an explanation that puts the fault outside of you. It was news, it was manipulation, it was a stop hunt, it was just bad luck. You are not cherry-picking consciously, the brain does this automatically. It's called self-serving bias, the deeply human tendency to attribute success to our abilities and failure to external circumstances. In normal life, this bias is mildly useful. It protects self-esteem. It keeps you motivated. In trading, it is quietly catastrophic. Because if your wins prove you're skilled and your losses are just variance, you will never look honestly at what's actually happening. You will never study your losses with the same attention you celebrate your wins. You will never discover the actual patterns in your behavior that are costing you money. I had a period of 3 months where I genuinely believed I was getting better. I was taking note of all my winning trades. I was referencing them in my journal as proof of my progress. What I wasn't tracking was the average size of my wins versus my average size of my losses. When I finally ran the numbers, really ran them, I discovered that my win rate was 61%. Sounds good, right? Except my average loss was 2.3 times the size of my average win. I was winning more often than I was losing and still bleeding money. The wins were real, the losses were also real, and I had been selectively blind to one of them. In trading, you don't get paid for being right. You get paid for being right in the right way at the right size. And this thought, I want it to stay with you. What if your losses are not bad luck? What if they are the most honest feedback you have ever received? The shift here is moving from a defensive relationship with your losses to a curious one. Not, why did the market do this to me, but what does this trade tell me about the decisions I'm making? Your losses are a mirror. Most traders spend their careers trying to avoid looking at it. The profitable trader looks directly at it every single time. Lie number 4. Once I'm profitable, I'll be happy. Pause on this one for a moment, because this lie doesn't just hurt your trading, it poisons the entire process. If you've been in this game for more than a few months, you've probably had at least one good week, maybe a good month, a stretch of time where things were clicking, where the losses were small and the wins were meaningful. And you probably felt in that moment a preview of what it would feel like to be consistently profitable. And then the drawdown came, and all of that feeling vanished. And the version of you that enters a drawdown is different from the version that entered it. Tighter, more fearful, slightly desperate, trying to earn back not just the money, but the feeling. This is the emotional leverage that trading has over us, and it exists because we've tied our psychological well-being entirely to our P&L. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Happiness doesn't live on the other side of profitability. That's not me being philosophical, that's psychological research going back decades. Hedonic adaptation, the brain's remarkable ability to return to a baseline level of satisfaction regardless of what happens to you, means that reaching a goal produces far less lasting happiness than you predicted when you were pursuing it. You think becoming profitable will change how you feel. It won't. Not in the way you're imagining. What it will do is replace one set of anxieties with another. The losing trader is anxious about losing. The newly profitable trader is anxious about giving it back. The consistently profitable trader is anxious about whether their edge is still working. The anxiety doesn't disappear, it simply finds a new address. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. John Milton. Imagine becoming a trader who is not driven by the need to arrive somewhere, but by the genuine satisfaction of showing up for the process. That person does not trade with desperation. They don't overtrade after a loss to recover a feeling. They trade from a fundamentally different emotional baseline. And here is the paradox, and this is real. The traders who stop needing profitability to feel okay are often the ones who become profitable the fastest, because the desperation leaves the room, and in the space where desperation lived, patience can finally breathe. Lie number 4. I know what I'm doing wrong, I just need to fix it. This might be the most intelligent-sounding lie on the list, so bear with me. You've done the analysis, you've watched the replays, you know you cut winners too early, you know you average into losers, you know you trade emotionally after a loss. You've identified the patterns, you've written them in your journal with bullet points and underlining and maybe even a highlighting system. You know exactly what you're doing wrong, and you still do it. How? Here's what nobody tells you about self-knowledge in trading. Knowing a problem and solving a problem are separated by a canyon. You can describe your psychological weaknesses in articulate, precise detail and still be completely incapable of controlling them in a live trading environment. Why? Because insight is limited in the prefrontal cortex, the rational, analytical, language-based part of your brain. But trading decisions under emotional pressure are made in the limbic system, the older, faster, emotional, survival-oriented part of your brain. These two systems do not communicate fluently in moments of stress. When your trade is live and moving against you and your stop is 10 pips away, your prefrontal cortex knows exactly what to do. Your limbic system doesn't care. It is managing what it perceives as a threat. It is generating cortisol. It is pulling toward the action that removes the discomfort as quickly as possible. Your beautiful, well-reasoned journal insights are completely inaccessible. This is why knowing isn't fixing. This is why you can watch a video about loss aversion, nod along to every single point, feel genuinely enlightened, and 3 hours later make the exact decision the video described. The fix doesn't live in more knowledge, it lives in repetition at the behavioral level. Small actions consistently followed until the right response becomes the automatic one, until the rule-following self becomes louder than the impulsive self, not through willpower but through practice. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. James Clear. And this thought, I want it to stay with you. Stop trying to fix your trading. Start training your trading. There is a difference between fixing and training. Fixing implies a problem you solve once and move on from. Training implies a practice you engage with repeatedly, permanently, with no finish line. Athletes don't fix their form, they train it every day. Because the body, like the mind, regresses to its default under pressure unless that default has been rebuilt through repetition. The trader who trains their behavior rather than tries to fix it is playing a completely different game, and they almost always win it eventually. Lie number 6. I just need one big win to prove I can do this. This is the last lie. And it's the one that, in my experience, does the most damage, because it's the lie that leads to the trade that blows accounts. Let me paint the picture. You've had a rough patch, a few losing weeks, maybe a losing month. The account is down, and so is your confidence. And somewhere in your mind, a story is forming. If I can just get one big trade, one trade that makes it all back, everything resets. I proved to myself I can do this. I proved to the market I belong here. And so you size up. You find a trade that looks right and you put more on it than your rules allow, because this is the one. This is the trade that changes the story. Sometimes it works, And that is the worst possible outcome, because now you have reinforced the most dangerous belief a trader can hold, that breaking your rules under desperation is a valid strategy. More often, it doesn't work. The outsized position turns a bad week into a catastrophic one. The account drops to a level from which recovery feels impossible, and you're left not just with financial damage, but with psychological damage. A deepened sense that the market is against you, that you can't do this, that you'll never figure it out. The search for the one big win is always about emotion, not edge. It is a trader who needs a feeling more than they need a process, who needs external validation from the market more than they trust the internal authority of their own rules. Quote, "The most dangerous trade you ever take is the one you need to work." Read that again, slowly. The one you need to work. When you need a trade to work, when the outcome carries emotional weight beyond its financial value, you are not trading. You are gambling for psychological reasons. And the market is a ruthlessly impartial judge of desperation. Here's the shift. Imagine becoming a trader for whom no single trade matters. Not because you don't care, but because you understand, really understand, at a gut level, not just intellectually, that trading is a game of probabilities played over hundreds and thousands of trades. No single trade defines your ability. No single loss ends your career. No single win proves your worth. Every professional trader eventually arrives at this place, where the account equity goes up and down and they feel steady. Not because they're numb, but because they trust the process enough that any single outcome is simply information. That steadiness is not a personality trait you're born with. It's a relationship with uncertainty you build, trade by trade, through consistent behavior. The story. I want to tell you about a period in my trading that I've never really spoken about fully. There was a stretch of about 4 months where I genuinely thought I was going to have to walk away. Not because of one big blow-up, nothing dramatic, just a slow, grinding erosion, financially and psychologically, that came from the accumulation of every single lie I just described. I was strategy hopping. I was waiting to feel confident before committing. I was celebrating wins and explaining away losses. I was tying my entire sense of self-worth to green and red numbers on a screen. I knew what I was doing wrong in precise, articulate detail and could not stop doing it. And I was living in a state of quiet desperation for the one trade that was going to make it all okay. I remember a Tuesday morning. This is specific because the memory is specific. Sitting at my desk before the London Open. The account was down 23% from its peak. I had been in this game long enough to know the theory, long enough to have watched hundreds of hours of content, long enough that I had no excuse to still be losing. And I remember looking at the chart and feeling something I can only describe as a kind of hollow surrender. Not the dramatic kind of giving up, the quiet kind. The kind where you're still sitting at the desk, but something inside has already left. And in that moment, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I closed the platform. I didn't look at the charts. I didn't watch a video. I didn't look for a new setup or revisit my strategy. I just sat there, with the discomfort. And I asked myself a question that I'd been avoiding for the better part of a year. Who do I need to become to make this work? Not what do I need to learn, not what strategy do I need. Who do I need to become? And the answer that came, slowly, uncomfortably, honestly, was this. I needed to become someone who didn't need the market to validate me. Someone who could follow a rule without needing it to feel comfortable. Someone who could take a loss without it meaning something about their identity. Someone for whom the process was enough, even when the results weren't there yet. I needed to stop being a student of trading and start being a practitioner of it. That shift didn't happen overnight. It took months of small, quiet work. Journaling not trades, but thoughts. Following rules not because they felt right, but because they were mine. Sitting with losses without rushing to the next trade to erase the feeling. But something changed. Gradually, then suddenly, the way things usually change. The account started recovering. Not because I found a new strategy, because I started executing the one I had with a consistency I'd never managed before. Because the trades stopped being loaded with meaning, because I stopped needing them. I won't tell you the exact numbers, because this isn't about numbers. I'll tell you this. The morning I looked at my trading performance and thought, I think I've crossed the line, it didn't feel like I expected. It didn't feel like victory. It felt quiet, almost ordinary. And that, I realized, was the point. Profitable trading doesn't feel like the movies. It doesn't feel like a breakthrough moment or a triumphant highlight reel. It feels like showing up, following the process, accepting the outcome, moving on. It feels like someone who's become a different person. Here's what I want you to understand before we close. Everything I've described in this video, all 6 lies, they're not random mistakes. They are expressions of a single underlying belief. I am not yet the kind of person who belongs in this game. That belief is invisible. You won't find it written in your trading journal, but it's there. And it operates like a program running in the background of every decision you make. It's why you hop strategies, because deep down you don't trust that you could make any strategy work. It's why you wait for confidence, because you don't believe you're capable without external proof. It's why you only credit your wins, because you need them to believe the story that you belong here. It's why you tie your happiness to outcomes, because without the result, you have no evidence of your worth. It's why knowing isn't changing, because change requires a different self, not just a better informed version of the current one. It's why you need the one big win, because you haven't yet decided from the inside that you are already the person who can do this consistently. Every single lie is a symptom. The belief is the root. And here's the most important thing I can say to you today. You are not further behind than you think. You are exactly where every trader who eventually made it has been. The confusion you feel, the frustration, the sense that you're working hard and not moving forward, that's not a sign that you can't do this. It is a sign that you are in the middle of the process, not at the end of it. The traders who quit at this stage will never know how close they were. Because this moment, this exact stage of confusion and questioning is where the transformation actually lives. Not after it, in it. The 6 lies I told myself didn't make me a bad trader. They made me a human one. And dismantling them one by one, honestly and without ego, that's what made me a profitable one. I'm asking you to do the same thing. Not to find a better strategy, not to wait until you feel ready, not to look for the one big trade that proves everything. I'm asking you to sit with one question, just one, and let the answer be honest. Which of these 6 lies are you still telling yourself? Because the moment you can name it clearly, without defending it, without explaining it, is the moment it loses its power over you. That's where the real work starts. And if you're willing to do that work, the deep, uncomfortable, unglamorous work of becoming a different person, then I can tell you from somewhere on the other side of it, it's worth it. Every single uncomfortable moment of it. If this video meant something to you, not just entertained you, but actually landed somewhere real, then subscribe. Not because I'm asking you to click a button, but because this channel is built around one thing: the truth about what it actually takes to become consistently profitable. No hype, no shortcuts, no strategies that promise to change your life in a weekend. Just honest, deep, uncomfortable work. And if you're still here at the end of this video, that tells me you're the kind of person that content is made for. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and come back for the next one. Because the conversation we're having, the real one, about identity and psychology and the kind of person you need to become, it doesn't end here. It's just getting started. Drop a comment below. Tell me which of the 6 lies hit hardest, the one you're still carrying, the one you're ready to put down. I read every comment, and I'll see you in the next one.